Barnaby Jones will return next Thursday night at 10, 9 Central and Mountain on most of these stations.
Word Balloon is brought to you by the League of Word Balloon Listeners.
Terrificon, Connecticut's biggest Comic Con, is back at the Mohegan Sun Expo Center in Uncasville, Connecticut on August 16th through the 18th. See your favorite stars from TV and film and shop for comic books, toys and memorabilia. With top creators from Marvel and DC, costume contests with prizes, and so much more. Tickets on sale now at Terrificon.com.
Welcome back, everybody. Time again for another Word Balloon Live, the comic book conversation show. John Suntress here after a long health hiatus, but I'm back. I may cough. I was telling the boys before we started, if I have a little cough, do not be alarmed. Everything is fine. I just need to get it out of me. It's just this weird dry cough. It is not cancer. It is nothing that can't be managed with medication, and it is being managed with medication. So, God, it's so nice to see so many people coming out, especially given how long it's been since I was able to do a live broadcast. So thank you, everybody, for joining us live today. Really excited to be here with my old buddy Franco. Good to see you, Francis.
Hey, Johnny.
And also Alex Giannini. Am I saying Giannini? Am I saying it right, Alex?
You got it perfect. Thanks, John.
There you go. Beautiful, man. These guys are in the midst of a Kickstarter campaign for a brand new book.
Actually,
and,
it's Johnny.
Oh, pardon. I beg your pardon, man. It is a Zoop campaign, and it's looks pretty great, man. Ghostlight Tales. I love this cover. Very evocative of playbills, Broadway kind of advertisements for shows and stuff. And our buddy Jaime drew this, Francis.
Yeah, this is cover B, and it's done by Jaime Carrillo. He's an amazing artist. I work with him whenever I can. There's a cover A and a cover B. That's cover B, and I knew you were being an aficionado of plays and things of that nature would know that it was a playbill, because that's exactly what it is, and it's modeled after a ghost. Well, it's named after a ghost light. You know what a ghost light is, right? Or do you not?
No, tell me.
So a ghost light is the light that they leave on on the stage. You saw only in theaters. You saw only murders in the building, right? When they were doing the play and stuff like that.
Yes.
So they talked about the ghost light in that. So it's a light that they leave on the stage, so that it wards off the spirits of any past that happen to be roaming around in the studio, and also it leaves a light on so nobody breaks their neck when they're walking in the dark into the theater, so they can see and feel their way around. But mostly we took it more for the more dramatic ghost that hang out in the theater section thing.
That's awesome. Alex, how'd you get involved in this collaboration?
Hey, this goes back a while, huh, Franco?
Yeah.
So I shopped at All Yeah Comics, and then I think we met because we did a couple of events together. So right now I work at the Westport Library, so I do all the programs and events there, including the big literary festival, Storyfest. And Franco was a guest the first year, and then I just kept being annoying to him. And I think we got bored right before the pandemic, and we were like, we should do a book, and we like spooky stories, and let's do a book of spooky stories. And classic us style, it took us 4.5 years, but we're there now. So
yeah. Yeah, it was before. Yeah, that's right. It was before the pandemic. We had all these plans. We wanted to do something kind of multimedia, we wanted to do some video stuff, and we wanted to definitely do a book, and we wanted to get some really cool people involved in doing these stories, and we wanted to do it a little bit differently. So this book has actually not just comic book stories, but also prose stories by some pretty amazing people. But we'll get to that. But we had talked about doing some multimedia stuff. We had talked about filming some stories that were told verbally around a campfire. So that would have been the ghost flight. But then it kind of evolved over time, and then the pandemic hit, and then we couldn't go anywhere. We couldn't visit anybody anywhere. We actually talked to a couple of different publishers, and everyone that we talked to said, compilations with a bunch of different people are difficult to do, and it's a hard sell, and you know the drill. We get all that stuff, and then in typical me fashion, I'm like, well, let's just do this ourselves. If we do it ourselves, it'll get done. And that's where we wound up.
Well, you've got the track record too, doing Deadman Tells the Spooky Tales, great anthology series there. You've also played with, and you rattle off some of your collaborations with Sarah Richard and others as well. Tell me some of the other past Franco great moments that people can obviously look at and know you got the track record for this kind of story.
Yeah, we kind of, reached out. Alex reached out to, some people, and I reached out to some people. So I reached out to Scoot McMahon, love Scott and his artwork anytime. Sarah Richard, and Alex reached out to a couple people, and I said, well, how can we make this different? And he said, just flippantly, Alex goes, oh, I know a couple of Bram Stoker Award winners. We could talk to them.
Wow.
And I'm like, oh, really? Yes, I'll let Alex tell you about them.
Yeah, it was. I mean, I think the whole thing was like we wanted to make a book that we'd read as kids, right? So this has everything that personally I like and I know Franco likes. But there's, like you said, there are prose stories, there's comics, obviously. There's a play in there that you can with like directions on how to stage it yourself. So it's like interactive too. But yeah, the two Bram Stoker winners are Gwendolyn Keist, who's actually won 3 Bram Stokers. I think she won 2 more during the time we were getting this book to Zoop. And then Krista Carmen wrote a short story for us, and she just won the Stoker last.
Yeah, I was going to say
last month.
Last month she won, right?
Yeah. So we have like you have a boatload of Eisners, and we have 4 Bram Stoker awards. So.
Wow, that's amazing. I've got some illustrations from the book, and you guys can describe it. We mentioned Scoot McMahon, and here's his story alone. Mm-hmm. Looks great.
So
obviously,
these are little vignettes, and this story is not typical Scoot material. If you've seen or read any of Scoot's stuff, this really delves into his depraved section of his brain. The ending to this story is like, even just that one first page, the kid is asking the mom, like, hey, can you leave the door open a little bit? I'm kind of scared. The mom's like, no, and slams the door. So if that gives you any indication where this story is going, it's they're spooky. They're not overtly gory. They're not terrifying. I take that back. Some of them are actually.
They are. I think they're safe scary, but they're pretty creepy. I mean, like Goosebumps and Scary Stories to Tell in the Dark, that kind of thing. It's in that vein.
Mm-hmm.
Sure. No, I don't blame you. It's so funny, Alex. I don't know if you know, but Franco and I do a mess around podcast that we do with our friends, and we always say at the end of the show, "Oh, next week we'll have ghost stories," and we never do. But meanwhile, Franco has been putting out these anthologies of stories, so that's great.
Yeah, it's a good way to kind of like tease projects that I'm doing. Oh, you want ghost stories? Go read this. Here's my ghost stories.
Yeah, for real. So did you say there's another Bram Stoker winner as well, Alex?
There are 2. It's Gwendolyn Keist and Krista Carmen. So we've got 2 Stoker winners, and there are 4 Stokers among the 2 of them, which is pretty cool.
And then there's also there's also Cody who is an influencer of sorts, and in the time that we were doing this, he's just blown up. He's got like followers everywhere.
Yeah, his name's Cody Daigle Oriens, and he on TikTok and on Instagram he's Ace Dad Advice, and he's in the LGBTQIA space, and he's like a legit celebrity in that space, and he's the guy who wrote the play. So
yeah,
that's amazing. That's fantastic, and I really appreciate the idea of a play being in there too, because it goes beyond the reading experience, and maybe somebody that buys the book can get with a couple other kids and put on a play.
I think so. I mean, it's
Yeah.
like Franco was saying before. It's why publishers passed on it, because it's too many things at once for a lot of people. But like, I don't know. It's exactly like I said. It's exactly what I would have wanted as a kid. And as someone who does library programming, like if you can hand a librarian a book and say, "This is it," this is an hour of stuff to do. I think it's awesome. So we're excited to get on Zoop and see how we do. We're about halfway to our goal. But
with still like 27 days left.
We just
great. Well, there's plenty of time for Word Balloon people to get involved, and for certainly Franco fans and that. Franco, you're going to have, because I know you tell me. I was told there'd be no math today, but obviously I think San Diego comes before your deadline. Will you be able to show people examples from the book at San Diego, hopefully to help the campaign out?
Yeah, I'll have a QR code that people will be able to go to, and it'll take you right to the landing page on Zoop. And if you go there, there's a bunch more examples of artwork from the book in there. We tried to get a variety of different people, a variety of different art styles, and just a variety of different creators to tell different stories. So it's just something we've been working on for a while, like we said, and we had different plans for what we wanted to do. One of the things that we were going to do was have the play. We were going to do a section where kids could actually film their version of the play and then send it to us. We had very grandiose ideas, and to get all that stuff together takes a lot of legwork that we weren't able to do. So we sat down and we had a discussion about, okay, how can we do this? What can we do? And the answer was, let's put it out in book form. Let's do that at first and see what happens. And we're pleasantly surprised that we're about halfway to our goal with only a couple days into the campaign. So we're hoping that it gets funded and that we'll be able to do a bunch of these and just kind of play with different genres and stuff as we go through different books, if we get to do more at all.
The packaging, I mean, what we're going for is a really beautiful hardcover, so it would be a 64-page glossy pages hardcover, really like the way you'd want it, right? And as Franco mentioned, we do have more stories that people submitted to. It was cool because we just kind of reached out to friends of ours and everyone was really excited about it. So I don't know, making comics with friends is the best thing. So that's what we're in the middle of.
Yeah,
that's wonderful, man. Here, let's look at a couple more illustrations from the book.
That's Federico Mele. So Fede is an Italian artist who lives. I think he lives right outside of Rome. He's someone I just saw on Instagram, and we became buddies. His stuff is spectacular, and I keep saying this, but like since we started this project, everyone but me and Franco has been super. Well, you've been successful, so just me. I'm just the only one not successful through the project. But Fede is doing covers for McFarlane over at Image. He's doing Spawn covers.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, wow. He's got that 2-pager in our book that kind of ends the book is really, really creepy and beautiful.
Yeah. No, it really and that's what I was going to say. This is great because you're not talking down to the kids with the stories or the art. That it really is like treating them as kids that can handle this kind of stuff.
Yeah,
and I think that's great.
Yeah, we thought about it in terms of like, when we were kids, the things that traumatized us, like going to McDonald's, going to McDonald's and going to McDonald's Playland. That was scary. They had that Mayor McCheese like jail thing that you could sit in. Like things were not like sugar coated for us when we were kids, and we turned out hilarious. Sort of kind of okay. So our thought process our thought process to this with was like, hey, let's create a whole bunch of more kids like us. By reading this thing and scaring them and seeing. But it literally, like I've told you before, Johnny, any project that I do is literally all ages. So you can read it as an adult and kind of get it that way, and you can read it to kids and still be able to read it to them without having to go, or cover this or change that. You'll still be able to get get things out of it, no matter what age you are reading it.
Yeah, unfortunately, Franco, things were literally sugar-coated when I went into McDonald's as a kid, and that's why I was a fat kid and a fat adult. But thanks for bringing that up.
Dude, I hear you, Alex. Honestly, we were really hit by the processed food craze of what's nutrition? Nah, don't worry about it. Everything's fine. The four food groups are meat and cheese and sugar and more meat. And it was.
And all of that was questionable in those categories as well. So
yeah, that's true too. You're right about that. Good Lord, Tang. What the hell is Tang?
I don't know. All I know is it can take you to the moon. That's all I know about Tang.
That's absolutely true. Here, let's more illustrations from the book. I'm sorry, Alex. Every time we show one, you're getting blotted out for a second.
Oh yeah, everything from my face, John.
His late wife. Tell me about this story.
This was written and illustrated by Sarah Richard, and any chance, I did the Ghosty Owl with her, and I did Deadman Tells the Spooky Tales with her. Any chance I get to work with Sarah, I'm such a huge fan of hers, and she can really kind of take things and make them look different for each project, but still her own style. So this is kind of like a sepia tone story that she did, and she's got a really twisted, deranged brain, which I love. And it really comes through in this story with her illustrations and how it ends up. So it's cool, Any chance I get to work with her, I will.
That's excellent, man. Very, very cool. And everyone's being really nice as far as welcoming me back. Thank you very much. Don't worry, everybody. More great stuff coming in July, even with the convention coming up. A lot of old favorites and a lot of new people as well. So we're gonna do okay for Word Balloon in July. And I appreciate everybody's patience while I was out, but I'm back now. Alex, tell me about the library situation in general. I worry about libraries. I've always, as I'm sure both Franco and you and I, we were all kids that our parents were smart enough to send us to the library, take advantage of the free services that were out there. But man, libraries have certainly been under attack. And it angers me because it really they're not really thinking of the big picture and how important literacy is and igniting creativity. And I've really appreciated the evolution of libraries beyond just a place to check out books, but also getting more involved with multimedia. I remember when LexisNexis was a new toy at the library. And the forerunner of the internet, and being able to look up better information and things like that. But how are things at your library? How does the community welcoming, or just the cooperation with the community? How are things going?
No, thanks for asking that. I grew up a library kid, and then had a bunch of careers and never thought to work in a library. And when the opportunity arose, it felt like it was a good fit. In terms of right now, I'm in Westport, Connecticut, so it's the library's in Westport, Connecticut. I can't afford to be in Westport, Connecticut, but it's the community is very welcoming, and I always say it's the most engaged community I've ever seen with a library. It really is like a community center, and I think that's where libraries are going more and more, is to become community centers as opposed to just places where there are books. But as you say, the last 2 years have not been great. In terms of we've had book challenges in a very in a liberal enclave. We've had book challenges. We've had other stuff, and we're very aware acutely. I'm very acutely aware. I'm not speaking for the library. I'm speaking for me, of Project 2025 and what's coming down the pike. God forbid. But anyway, it's not the best time for. I think public schools went through it. And then I think folks kind of realized, well, libraries are next. Yeah. So we're kind of, libraries have always been the front lines of freedom of speech and technology. People don't think of libraries as technology, but the book was the cutting edge technology.
God, yes. Yeah. Massive breakthrough, Gutenberg and the movable press. And that was literally the start of the information age.
Yeah. Yeah, and giving stuff away for free is what libraries do. We provide information and access to everybody. Doesn't matter what side of the political realm you fall on. We have books on the right, we have books on the left, and we have books in the middle.
Absolutely, man. No, I agree. And it's, like I said, it gets me mad. And I love Frank Miller, the wonderful comic book writer, has always pointed out the strength of librarians chasing these people back and going, don't you dare tell us what to put in our libraries and whatnot and everything. And God, we just had the ALA convention last weekend, which is a wonderful show. I've been to it a couple times here in Chicago, and I'm a massive fan. And that's the funny thing too. You go to that show, and not only do you hear about new books and things, but also new tech for libraries to take advantage of.
I'll tell you, man. I before this job, I worked at World Wrestling Entertainment. I was at WWE, and
we'll ask about that later. But go on.
And I'll tell you what, if I had to choose who to mess with, a wrestler or a librarian, it would not be the librarian, because they're the toughest. So,
again, for a good cause.
A couple of things. First of all, I didn't know Steve Gutenberg from the Police Academy was so involved with libraries. And second of all, I've been to the Westport Library a few times. Their facility is amazing, and Alex does an amazing job. I went to 2 talks there. One was Spiegelman, Art Spiegelman.
Of course,
I've heard him speak there, and the other was Neil Gaiman at the library, and they put on amazing events, and the facility is just incredible just to attend. And I was there for StoryFest, but I'm speaking specifically for the events that they put on, and they're free. It's pretty cool.
Outstanding, man. That's amazing. And again, beyond the books, you can learn how to video edit at a lot of good libraries, and do other things like that again will tap into a kid's creativity, and it's free. And it's such a valuable community asset, and I can never help talk up libraries and things. Alex, and maybe this is slightly differs from your work at the library, but how is the graphic novel department at your library? Is it extensive? Does it cover pretty much everything?
It's great. We have a ton of stuff, and then we have something called Hoopla, which is the digital. I don't think people know. I wouldn't know about it if I didn't work at a library. But digital or Hoopla has everything. It's got all the Titan Titans comics. It has, literally everything. There are like Milo Manara comics and Tiny Titans on this, on the same app.
Good spectrum. Absolutely. That's fantastic that you mentioned Milo Manara. No question. And Hoopla. And again, not only digital books that you can rent and everything, but also movies and TV and everything. Again, Hoopla is a wonderful asset that I think most libraries are associated with. I know I use Hoopla through the Chicago system and everything.
Oh, the great library system. Yeah, down to like libraries have quiet rooms where you could record a podcast. I have 3 dogs. Franco's got dogs. I'm waiting for one of them to bust through a ceiling here. But that's what and libraries are things that people won't realize how important they are until they start going away. And I'm not bullshitting you. They will go away if some of the stuff that people are trying to do will go through.
I so hear you, Alex. And truly, it gets me angry and active. And I'm glad you bring that up, because I do think that is a legitimate concern beyond whose ever book banning list that they've got out there. It's like,
that's the
don't
start.
you dare get rid of the bathtub when you throw out the bathwater and everything. It's like, no, man. Like, these things are important. And hopefully there's enough people in the community to stand up to these idiots and shout them down and get rid of them. What were you going to say, Alex?
I was just going to say one of our tiers on the Zoop is actually buy a book and you can donate one to a library of your choice, which is pretty cool.
Wonderful. Great idea, man. That's excellent. Yeah.
Hey, we're nothing if not self-serving, John. We're
being ever the shill, I was going to bring that up as well and say, hey,
I could see the glint in your eye. I was like, I'm going to do it first.
But
that's great.
Yeah, go ahead, Johnny.
No, I was going to ask a different question. Finish your thought, Francis.
No, I was going to chime in on the library thing too. Being a kid who didn't grow up with much, the libraries at school and the libraries in my public town were where I learned to read and take out books other than stuff I would find on the newsstand, because I learned to read with comics. But libraries is where I saw novels, and I learned to get novels and read novels, and being in the public school system for as long as I have, I've seen the attacks coming down the pike at school systems, and I've seen them expand out to libraries, and we can't let that happen. We just can't let that happen.
Yeah,
I'm with you.
it's in the when I was a kid, the two places that I was scared for the first time were the video store and at libraries. You know, because you'd read books that you weren't supposed to read. I read Stephen King way too early, and in the VHS, you know, at the video store, you'd go into the horror section. You know, and I grew up a horror kid. You know, it's just I was scared of everything as a kid. Like I hated it. I was terrified of everything, and that's stuff I love today. And I think that's what I don't think that's why this book exists.
I get it, and honestly, I think kids, especially when they're impressionable, and they read or see stuff that shocks them. You're going through two doors. Either one where you're going to go postal, and thank God that's a very short list of people that sadly they get traumatized that way. And the other is your brain explodes in a positive way. I always point out, and I loved that I was able to tell the great Spider-Man writer Jerry Conway when he killed Gwen Stacy. That blew my mind, man. And I I haven't turned to a life of crime. I'm not robbing stores or anything or holding people up, but what I am doing is it ignited my imagination. And wow, stories can have consequences. And it was really this wonderful evolution of understanding storytelling from a reader's standpoint that I think is crucial. And I think great for kids to ignite their imaginations and possibly even their creativity. One of my favorite library kids stories is Ray Bradbury, the wonderful sci-fi writer, who always gave it up to his kids' library that he went to. I want to say in Waukegan, Illinois, and he was a poor kid, but he's like, it was the greatest education I ever got. He goes, I read everything, and my God, go ahead, Alex.
Bradbury rented a typewriter, and that's where he wrote Fahrenheit 451 at a library. He rented the typewriter for 5 cents a day or something like that, and that's where he wrote that book.
Can you imagine? Yeah. No, it's again, and really now extrapolate that to the different departments and services you can get from your library. Like you said, you can make a podcast, you can make video. It's incredible, and again, a valuable asset that. We really have to fight this thing. I'm sorry, everybody. I don't mean to get political, but if there's a group out there that's against libraries, I'm against them, and I'm sure a lot of our Word Balloon audience and the creators that show up feel the same way. So,
absolutely. Yeah.
Alex, tell me about your WWE involvement. We've never had the opportunity to really talk about it.
Yeah, I worked there with WWE. It's either you're there 3 years or 30 years, and I was the 3-year variety. So I got out of college around 2005 or 6 and went from, unfortunately, dying publisher to dying publisher, and then wanted to learn digital media. So I went to WWE and ended up in some fun situations with very large wrestlers. But I mostly worked on the website and did video production for them, and it was eye opening. It's also I don't know. I hated talking to people publicly. I didn't like doing any of that stuff, and wrestling brought all that out. It really forced you in a good way to be very more personable. And the best lesson that I learned in that company, I was on the road a couple of times. I was on the road a decent amount with the shows, and I introduced myself to one of the talent twice. So the second I introduced to myself the next time I was out on the road, and he pulled me aside really nicely and said to me, "You can't do that. I know your name. I know who you are. You introduced. We met the last time. It's really important because it's a show of respect." And that's just, that world is a whole thing, right? But that's something that never left me. And now in my job, like this is all I do all day is talk to people. But that would be my biggest takeaway, is just like respect someone enough to not forget their name.
Oh no, I get that.
I'm very disrespectful. I forget everybody's name all the time. I don't do it on purpose, but just on that point, I read something years ago that resonated with me, and it's like, when people ask you as a writer, as a creator, how do you keep an entire novel in your head? How do you keep a graphic novel in your head? How do you keep all these stories in your head? And I said, it's very simple. I can keep all that stuff in my head because I can't remember your name. I remember who you are, but I can't remember your name. I don't know where we were last summer. because because I have all these stories in my head all the time. But I didn't mean to jump on you there. Go ahead.
No, of course. I think it's also like reading comics. Like somehow we managed to keep weekly and monthly storylines that go on forever, right? And like you said, I don't know what I ate, for lunch today. But like I could tell you the last issue of whatever book I was reading that didn't come out for 3 months. I mean, it's crazy what a comic fan remembers.
No, I'm with you, man. That's funny. Here, comment. Let's see. Hey, there you go. One of your guys, Alex, James Wortman, saying hello.
James Wortman, one of the old WWE vets. That guy.
Really? Okay.
Yeah.
I wanted to ask more about that because I was very fortunate in the 90s. I worked at a sports radio station. We had great ties with the then WWF. Really became truly good acquaintances with Bobby Heenan. He was a regular that would, we'd have dinner and hang out and tell us stories.
Wow.
Wonderful guy. And truly that has been my experience with most wrestlers, that they're really good people, that they really do respect others and their fans, and really want their fans to know from a real personal standpoint how much they appreciate them. Even, guys like Hulk Hogan, I saw it in person, where he really just went out of his way to like shake hands with a person and say, no, it really is nice to meet you. Oh, you're really kind. Thank you for paying attention to what I do. And I mean, my God, Hacksaw Jim Duggan was like that. And a lot of the guys, mostly I met the guys. I didn't met, back then it was pre-Diva. Although I had a great night at a Comic-Con where, Franco, the guy that used to write Booster Gold with Jeff Johns, another Jeff, but Jeff. And he was a scenario writer for WCW.
Oh, wow.
Oh,
can't think of his name right now. Maybe somebody in the
Parker? Was it Jeff
in
Parker?
the chat. No, definitely wasn't Jeff Parker. It was a guy from wrestling, and really, I think the only comics he did was this short run of Booster Gold with Jeff Johns. And this at this convention, there were a lot of divas there as well. And I met Miss Tessmacher. And this lovely young redheaded woman. I can't think of her name right now, but they were so nice. And it was at the really beginning of podcasting. And they're like, "We've heard of podcasting. What's a podcast, John? Can you explain that to us?" I'm like, I'm like half at the mansion. I'm like, "Well, of course, ladies. Let me sit down and explain it to you." And it was so great. They were so nice. And of course, nothing happened. But other than my own delight that these two very beautiful women were sincerely interested in podcasting. And they're like, people keep telling us we should do a podcast. I'm like, you should absolutely do a podcast. I said, it's only going to help you with your audience and stuff. But basically what I'm saying is my experience has always been great with the wrestling community as far as the pros. I mean, our dear friend Chris Daniels, Franco, sweetheart of a guy.
Yeah.
Kazarian, his former partner. I mean, yeah, these are wonderful people that we've gotten to know over the years. Pretty neat.
And they're hard work. I mean, that was the thing I respected most, I think. It's just that people don't realize how often they travel and how hard it is to do what they do for a living. I think the thing that was the myth that was dispelled immediately was the big dumb wrestler. That doesn't exist. They have to go in front of a lot of people, learn lines incredibly quickly, sometimes as they're walking out there, and then go on television and do what they do. It's really incredible. And the folks that I worked with were just the most, like James Wortman in the comments, hardest workers, most talented people. Just it was a good experience. It was crazy, as it was as insane as you could imagine, but it was also really a good work experience for me.
That's great. Jeff Katz is the name I was trying to come up with. Thank you, Kerry, for doing the legwork on that. Jeff was amazing. Really sweet guy. And again, I really respect, much like comic book writers, these scenario writers that come up with the plots and things like that. And, it's great.
And wrestling is, always gets a bad rap, but everyone has a wrestling story, and everyone has some kind of connection to professional wrestling.
No, I hear you, man. It's great. I also love how the WWE has branched out into action films.
Mm-hmm.
And God, all these guys are making, obviously Cena has really broken through, and I'm happy for him, and certainly The Rock before him. But he, even on a direct-to-video gut level, which I love a good direct-to-video action movie. I mean, I'm not a big. I'll confess to you guys, and I'm always happy to talk about horror comics. but I'm not a big horror TV or film fan. What I do love are those knucklehead, just action movies and stuff. And Franco knows, my buddy Chuck and I, we rent them all the time, and we'll watch them. And we give everything the 10-minute rule. And if it absolutely sucks, then we'll bail after 10 minutes or whatever. But if it holds our attention, we'll usually go through 90 minutes.
I don't know that in today's day and age you have the ability or the absolute fun of going to a video store and finding a completely schlocky title like, Amazon Women in the Avocado Jungle of Death, and these movies are just like, you pick a title like that, you bring it home, you sit there for an hour and a half going, what the hell am I watching? And it's the greatest hour of your life for that, that week, because you're like watching this schlocky movie or Killer Clowns from Outer Space or something like that. It's just awesome.
Even a more recent one, Iron Sky, where they go to the dark side of the moon and they find the Nazi plant of energy that's been there since World War II, and just the craziness of that. No, I'm with you, man. And it is. It's a shame because on the one hand, movies are more available than ever because of streaming and all that, but they're also more hard to find for the same reason. And especially, God, Chuck and I were talking this morning about the new Beverly Hills Cop movie on Netflix. And he's like, God, I'm surprised. You'd think that would be a movie kind of like Top Gun Maverick that would be, a big box office thing. And it's like, there's no such thing anymore. I mean, it is such a rarity now. And I mean, we're really going through a transition, guys, that I don't know where movie theaters are 10 years from now. I really don't. Paramount is trying to sell itself to a new buyer. And part of the deal is you have to buy all their movie theaters that they own, and nobody wants them. And that's a huge real estate asset that they have. But frankly, it's a liability because nobody's going to the movies anymore. Yeah. I mean, I don't know about you guys. I know Franco goes and still sees the big tentpole movies and stuff. In
not as much as I used to, but yeah.
Sure.
Yeah, I think the last movie I went to was The Batman. I think that was the last one I saw in the theaters. So it's.
I saw The Flash last summer.
Flash. That's it. That was it for me. That's what it was for me too. Yep.
No, I appreciate it, buddy, and thank you, Sal. Almost back to full voice. We'll see how the next couple days go, but everything keeps getting stronger every day. And I honestly, I'll see Wolverine and Deadpool, or Deadpool Wolverine, however it's billed. I'll see that in the theater, but it's a rare exception. Even franchises that I love, still haven't seen the Planet of the Apes movie. A few others like that where it's just like, sorry.
Yeah.
There's a lot riding in that Deadpool movie. I think everyone's hoping that's the thing that brings people back to superhero movies.
Yeah, honestly, Alex, I don't know, and really want to hear both your guys' opinions. I don't think they're going to go away. I do think, obviously, that because of the glut of mediocre product that we got during the pandemic and on streamers and some of the streamer shows, that will get less, but I don't think the genre is going away. I liken it to the Western, and the Western had its big moment for about 30 years, from the 40s through the late 60s into the early 70s. And then, it didn't fully go away. I mean, there were still movies, but not to the level of every weekend another Western popping up, either on TV or on film. So I kind of think superheroes are in that boat.
I hope so. I can't imagine them not being a thing. They've been such a part of pop culture for the past 15 years. So I think, just like we do all the time in comics, you make things too complicated. If I got to watch 3 shows and then follow that into the theaters and do this and that, like Franco said, I don't remember what we did yesterday, and I got to remember how many Lokis there are. Come on.
Well, and it's good writing. Franco, what do you think of really, Franco and I are part of a group of podcasters. We try to get together almost weekly talking about the current product of sci-fi and superheroes and that. And I know, but yeah, for this conversation, Franco,
I stated it before to you, but I think that movie theaters won't go away, but I think there's got to be a product that brings people in. So this Deadpool Wolverine is definitely something that people are going to want to see on the big screen. Other things, like I heard the Pixar movie Inside Out 2 did fairly well, but I don't know that other big projects bring people in. There's movies that come and go every week that, okay, I'll wait till streaming. Why should I go pay, this much money to go to see this in a theater when I could just wait? But maybe a Wolverine Deadpool movie I'll pay to go see because it's a big eye spectacle.
I think.
Well, and that's go ahead, Alex.
No, horror is having like a resurgence because typically, like traditionally, horror does well when the world is on fire, and we're in a prolonged state of flaming earth. So I think there are certain genres that are going to do well. I don't know I don't know about you guys, but I don't want to go sit down and be lectured at for 2 hours in a really serious film. I'm just not in that headspace and probably won't be for several months,
I'm curious, John, the Kevin Costner Horizon movie just came out, right? I heard it didn't do very well, and he had like 4 of them planned, 2 of them already filmed, and people are just not going to the movies because it was like, I don't know, 4 hours long or something like that.
I haven't heard the length, but I mean, as you know, he left Yellowstone to make these movies, and it's so interesting that they're hyping.
Well, I think what happened was his schedule didn't work out because they delayed Yellowstone, and then he had this build, and he would have done Yellowstone, but then the schedule went over or something like that. So, but ultimately he did leave. Yeah.
And it's going to be very interesting because they're already running commercials for November for Yellowstone's final season. That I don't know how much Costner is in or not in or whatever, but it is interesting. And I was going to say regarding the spectacles that we want to see in big theaters, I think that's been the problem with Star Wars television shows, the streaming shows. There's an expectation more so for Star Wars than Star Trek or other intellectual properties they've always been big screen properties. And it wasn't since Mandalorian and the streaming shows. Some work. Mandalorian worked and really got an audience. Some are mixed bags where even the current Acolyte is getting mixed reviews. And it's funny, it never occurred to me, but I think on a subconscious level, Star Wars doesn't work to me on a small screen the way that it does on a big screen. I don't know.
Yeah.
There we go. All right.
Yeah, I think they should have just stuck to movies and done them every once in a while. But Disney's the machine that just kind of rolls over everything. So,
well, and also, I mean, and it's interesting. I don't know how WWE maintains its brand and understands its product, and probably because everything is so in-house. But it really does feel like the corporate masters at Paramount and at Disney / Lucas, they're letting people run these things. And they're treating it like widgets, and I think we're getting less and less people that understood the initial product and what made it great. You got a Dave Filoni, you got a Jon Favreau. Those guys are real Star Wars fans. I'm sorry, I'm not getting the same read from a lot of the newer creators that are behind some of the Star Wars.
You nailed it, John, with WWE. They kept it in house. I mean, the company was sold obviously, but they kept the people managing the talent or people who know what they're doing.
Speaking as a spectator from outside, I know that it was really kind of faltering there for a while when Vince they got rid of Vince and Vince came back, but with Triple H in charge, it's just doing really well. That last storyline with the Bloodline was just really brought people in, and when he was in charge for a little bit before Vince came back, that seemed to like really flourish. Storylines flourished and people came back. So there's a lot to be said for the work that you put in and the product that you put out.
It did what the best comics do, right? Like it brought back the old fans, it kept the current fans, and then it created new fans, which is, the trifecta.
Well, good writing, guys. And whether it's a wrestling scenario, a comic book, or a film or television show, it starts with the writing. And I really, again, that's what I fault a lot of what we're seeing and how we're dissatisfied with the product. James says no one cares about wrestling more than Triple H. So I would argue that the creative right now is stronger than it has been for the past 5 years. Yeah, James, and again, I'm more of a casual wrestling fan, but I've seen the ebbs and flows of the popularity. Guys, Alex, what do you think of, and also Franco, what do you think of the those shows that A&E and Vice have been producing about like the dark side of the ring? I'm fascinated by them. I think they're incredibly great.
Yeah, I agree. They're really so watchable. I just watched the entire Who Killed WCW storyline. That the what was like a 3 or 4 part thing. It was fascinating.
Yeah.
I thought I knew the story. I had no idea what was going on in the background.
Yeah.
No, all
Yeah.
that stuff, and also these other. Sorry, Frank, really fast. These other federations like New Japan and other
Mhm.
things like that. It's like, oh my god! I go, these are. I had no idea how their business run. Go ahead, Franco. What do you think of all that stuff? Are you watching those?
Yeah, I catch them occasionally, and I just saw the one about the WCW the other day, and I wanted to watch it, but again, I haven't yet. I'm so far behind on, on everything as well. I'm up to date on the current AEW and WWE, but just because I can put them on while I'm working, but
Sure.
everything else I'm falling behind on.
I agree with James. James says keeping George Lucas as a consultant would have been great for Star Wars in general. It is interesting. A lot of people have issues with Kathleen Kennedy, and it's like, yeah, but she was there from the start, maybe in a different capacity than what she is creatively now. I honestly can't say, but yeah, they seem to have fallen away from Lucas's original intent. And I don't know. I don't know. I got Franco. I'm bummed. I know you're going on a long vacation. I'll ask you, but I'm assuming have you not seen any of Star Trek Prodigy yet?
I have not. No.
That's all right.
I hope to. We're going to be in a couple of different places, and I hope to catch up, like when we're in the hotel at night and stuff like that.
Sure.
'Cause, but knowing me, I'll just fall asleep and watch, Bob's Burgers again.
I don't know if you're. No, I get that. When I was trying to get better, I was watching mostly familiar stuff rather than
Yeah.
trying to watch new stuff. But Alex, I don't know if you're a Star Trek fan or not, but Prodigy, the kids show that they made for Nickelodeon, they dropped it on Netflix on July 1st.
Hmm.
They dropped all 20 episodes. I'm taking my time with it, and it is so ironic that this is the show that was made for kids, and it's probably the best written and so faithful to the flavor of traditional Star Trek compared to the live action shows and anything they've made new. And that includes the other animated show, Lower Decks. That includes the Christopher Pike show, Strange New Worlds. It is infinitely a better product. And it's like, oh, there's Star Trek. God, I've missed it. And most of new Star Trek has really disappointed me as a fan of over 50 years of watching this crap. So
It's interesting. It's kind of like the X-Men '97 thing, where that on Disney, it's the cartoon, but maybe that's the truest X-Men we've seen on a screen. But I think it's like because it's kids, so they kind of keep the through line fairly simple, So it's not overly complicated. It stays to the heart of the thing. But the writing is really good, as you said. So I don't know. I think there's something to keeping things simple that helps there.
I hear you, man. No, absolutely. Well, guys, back to your book. It looks great,
Thanks,
and
man.
again, there's more than 3 weeks left in the campaign at Zoop.
Yeah, Johnny, if I
Ghost
can
Light
just
Show.
bring up something as well, because we tried to not make it overtaxing in terms of reward tiers and stuff like that. But one of the things that we did do that I thought was kind of unique is we brought 4 artists. We have Jaime Carrillo, Sarah, Richard, myself, and Scoot McMahon. And there's a raffle tier where it's just a la carte on Zoop, so you can add this if you want. You don't have to. You could get just this. You could get the book and this. But it's a raffle tier for $5. For a $5 reward tier, you enter a raffle, and you get the chance to win 4 drawings, 4 commissions. You get to name what you want from each one of these people. So you get one from
Wow.
Jaime, one from me, one from Scoot, and one from Sarah. So I don't think I've really seen that anywhere where you get 4 artists doing whatever you want with your commission. So you get 4 commissions for the price tag of a $5 raffle.
Is it more than one winner? How many winners will have that opportunity?
There'll be one winner, and you get all 4. But we do have tiers with the artist who, for the $100, you can get a commission from any one of these people if you like one over the other. But I think for the $5 raffle, it's a pretty good chance to win 4 drawings.
That's great. No, that's huge. And I'm a big sucker for art commissions. I'm looking at my walls right now and looking at some of the great art that I have had over the last 20 plus years in collecting. Outstanding stuff. The book is called Ghostlight Tales, and an incredible group of artists giving us beautiful images. And I'm sorry, Alex, that I'm blocking you as I'm showing you some of these wonderful examples that we have. Did we talk about the dog illustration?
Oh yeah, so that artist's name is Sabin Arditi, and he's a buddy of mine, and I just saw his work on Instagram, and really, like you, John, I collect commissions, so I hit him up for a commission, and just thought the world of his art. So he does spot illustrations throughout the book for the prose stories that we do in that style, that pen and ink style, and Sabin is one of the there are 5 commission opportunities. And Sabin is one of them, and he's only doing 2. The commission's $100. One has already been taken, so it's already been claimed. But he does beautiful, like the example we have on the Zoop campaign is a full body Dark Knight Returns kind of thing, and it's in this style, yeah. So
yeah, and all the artists that we asked to do commissions, they were all very generous, and we were able to get the tiers at $100 for each of their commissions. So that's a great price. These guys, unless you get to them at a show, I think it's the only place you could get something maybe cheaper. But these are great prices, and your opportunity to get something from one of these amazing artists.
Franco, I don't know what more left. So if you want a Franco commission, he's already got 3 taken, and Jaime has 2 of his 4. Jaime's doing full painted, like the cover that you showed down. Really crazy. Like, I want to buy one. I want to hit the add to cart, but that's really,
you should do it.
Stop.
Well, I've been an admirer of Jaime's stuff since I've known him, and really for Franco's last the card game that he did, LXT, the source book cover that that Jaime did is just gorgeous. So yeah, man, no, I mean, these are great artists, everybody.
I keep going back to people I like. Yeah.
That's wonderful, man. And again, I'm glad that they're willing to work with you guys again, and then keep this going. But no, it really does. It sounds like it's a great campaign, and I'm really excited for you guys for this collection of stories. So it's Ghostlight Tales, and once again, everybody, it's a campaign that's happening on Zoop.
Yep.
But I like these guys, so I will help my friends as much as I tell them.
Yeah, we appreciate that.
Sorry. But there's good opportunities for commissions, and I do want you to support this book. So please help my friends out with this. And great conversation, guys. Honestly, Alex, great to get to know you a little better.
Same
from our one meal back at Terrificon a couple of years ago. But and Franco, always happy to talk to you. You know that.
Appreciative, John. Always, you know that.
Sure, man. We'll have a good trip next week if I don't talk to you before then.
Yeah, man, I'll be around. We'll get together after.
Beautiful. Thanks everybody for watching. And don't worry, we're back. Word Balloon is back, and with brand new stuff. And I'm happy to help everybody out and remind everybody about some of the great products that are out there, and great opportunities to have wonderful conversations. So look forward to more of that coming up starting next week and throughout July and August. And we got Terrificon coming up in August. It's going to be a great summer, and I'm glad you're on the road with me. So thanks everybody for watching and listening. Until next time, stay safe, stay happy, stay healthy.